to multidimensional poverty. I don't know the names. I don't know the acronym or the name we are going to give the level of poverty, the level of unimaginable poverty we are going to witness under a regime that removed subsidy from fuel, increased electricity tariff, wants to privatize. Terrible advice. They dare not do it in their own countries. In the US, okay, in the US today, the US is spending billions of dollars subsidizing oil, subsidizing petrol for their own citizens in order to keep the prices of oil like affordable. They are doing the same thing in Europe. I think in Europe they invested about $500 billion, right? The same thing in the UK. UK is investing close to about 170 plus in US dollars into oil subsidy. So even these governments recognize the fact that that their citizens indeed needs to be subsidized. Energy needs to be subsidized, but here in Nigeria, that practically citizens benefit nothing. Nobody can point to one thing Nigeria is benefiting from government, and then the only thing that is left and Nigerians can lay hold to subsidy, the government is taking it away. Well, if the government is not interested in the welfare of its people, perhaps we should just assume that there is no government and just assume we are being governed by private interests, by Dangote. We don't need elections.
You can join us on this program by calling in. The phone number to call will be highlighted on the screen for you. It's a 07049941413. I reiterate, it's 07049941413. And if you're calling from outside Nigeria, please just add +234 to that number. Still on the NLC strike action, the president actually came out during his address talking about what they have saved from the removal of petroleum subsidy, stating that they had saved as much as 1 trillion in 2 months in funds that will have been used for the payment of petrol subsidy. And he said that that money will now be used directly and more beneficially for Nigerians. What's your take on that?
Like I said, he's not saying anything new. Jonathan said it, that he has also saved. Buhari said it, that he also saved. But the question is, where are we better off afterwards? And this issue, this matter of turning government into the relationship between government and the citizens to a trade by barter situation is rather unfortunate. You are robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's unfortunate. You see, whether you remove subsidy or not, it is the responsibility of government to fund schools. Whether you remove subsidy or not, it is the responsibility. In fact, the increment in workers' minimum wage is long overdue. Long overdue. Forget about whether outside of this current hardship that we now face under the regime, the Nigerian workers are due for a raise of nothing less than 200,000 naira. It is like an established fact. So you don't need to start telling us that we're going to make you suffer, but in exchange for making you suffer, we're going to give you some peanuts. It's like when you have rodents gradually feasting on your toe and then blowing some soft breeze. It's and in any case, there is no certainty that the so-called 1 trillion naira won't end up in private pockets, as previous experiment has proven.
Let me get your reaction to this. He also stated that they are investing 100 billion in 3,000 units of 20-seater buses across to be rolled out across the states and local governments for mass transit at a much more affordable rate. How workable and how feasible?
Invested almost similar amounts to purchase close to about 2,000 buses. Where are they? Have we seen it, or have we seen it? These are just distraction from what the government exactly should do. Whether you are removing subsidy or not, is it not the responsibility of government to invest in transport? Like, these are basic responsibility of government, and in any case, we can be sure that this is just propaganda. They are not doing anything.
Now, can you provide insights for us, for our viewers, on the potential impact of this strike action by labor on the economy and the daily lives of Nigerians?
Well, I think this particular strike is not a well, I won't call it a strike. It's still, like, generally speaking, workers have practically not grounded the economy as they used to do, but at least it's a process towards it, at least as expected. It's a process towards, it's a mobilization towards that that end. So in any case, I think more than anything, the Nigerian people actually needs labor to proceed on a strike, to advance beyond this nationwide protest that they have called commendably into a strike, because already different sectors are going into partial strikes, even government institutions. A few days ago, the KWASU, that is the staff union of the colleges of education, they announced that henceforth their members should be showing up, would only come to classes twice a week, right? And different campuses are beginning to implement it. Even at government hospitals, they are beginning to do the same thing. And in Edo State, we've seen governments try to announce that they want to reduce the number of times workers would come to work, and it's like we are seeing hospitals even rationing diesel and petrol. So already the country is in partial paralysis, and labor has a duty to bring its weight, mobilize the Nigerian people to ensure that the economy of this country do not go from being in partial paralysis as we have now into total ground zero.
Now, some have also sought alternative approaches. I mean, and would like to get your perspective and insight on that. Are there any alternative approach that the Nigerian Labour Congress should be considering beyond this strike action in order to address these issues?
I was a former student union leader, and I know, and I have at least some experience in dealing with administrative authorities, and I know that no union leader goes into an action without exploring all possible, all alternative disputes mechanism, right? You write letters, you meet, even sometimes you have informal conversations. But when all of this failed, I remember in 2000, before ASU went on strike, before ASU proceeded on strike in 2013, ASU wrote the federal government 53 letters. 53 letters asking the government to implement an agreement it willfully entered with the union in 2009. But we deal with a regime that only understand one thing, and it's the language of the streets. And Nigerian people have never won any major concession without putting their foot to the ground.
You can actually join the conversation by calling the number 234-704-994-1413. One of our viewers actually asks, is the protest going on all over Nigeria? Some sections of the country are not actually participating in this process. In fact, as of yesterday, we had report that 19, civil society organizations from the north actually decided to say they are not embarking or supporting the strike action by labor. What's your view on that?
Those are just Tinubu civil society organization, not Podibo civil society organization. So anybody can wake up and announce that they have a civil society organization and say anything that. But what is real, and as you have also published in your news outlets, I think yesterday, is that even the protest started in the north. Kano State to be precise. So whoever is spreading that propaganda, that's just self-deceit and attempt by government to distract the Nigerian people.
Some are saying that this protest will favor Agbado Republic and their family, and that the best thing is to have a coup d'etat in Nigeria and Ghana before everything will be okay. Do you agree with that perspective?
Nigeria and Africa is in a very unfortunate situation. you know, and
Let's just quickly take this call. We have a caller on the line. Hello. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah. Can you speak louder? What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning. My name is Comrade
Comrade.
Ashok.
Okay, Comrade Ashok. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks from Buddha.
Please go ahead, Comrade Ashok.
Can I?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
I want to commend. I have done all that. And then I just want to just really not as far.
We can barely hear you, Comrade Ashok. You might need to probably call back. We can barely hear you, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can. Can you speak a little bit louder, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Please go ahead. We still cannot hear you, Comrade. Sorry about that. We can barely hear you. I think the line is broken. Perhaps breaking. Perhaps we can.
Max FM.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We are dishing out the top hits of the week. Counting down the biggest.
All right, so let's continue this conversation. We're still analyzing the NLC protest as it's happening across the country at this point in time. How realistic are some of the proposals by the federal government with regards to this palliative, and are Nigerians buying it, any of it?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. Nigerians, if Nigerians are buying it, they wouldn't be on the streets today. Nigerians are not buying it because they've seen different governments repeat the same scripts over and over again, and it turned out to be self-deceit. But the only thing the government is interested in is awarding palliatives to themselves. You know, recently, very recently, at the floor of the House, there were motions for members of the House to increase already outrageous salaries and allowances of members of the National Assembly, citing the state of hardship in the country, which means that members of the National Assembly who already are living fat of the nation's wealth are complaining of hardship, despite also receiving hardship allowances. But Nigerians, who are vast of whom are living in multi-dimensional poverty, are not deserving of decent jobs, right? That pays them decent wages. It's unfortunate, really. So if there is any palliative the government is interested in, I would say they are interested in giving themselves such palliatives, 40 billion naira as car awards for themselves.
Still on the National Assembly, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio actually came out to say that the earnings of the members of the National Assembly was insufficient to take care of the volumes of requests from their constituencies, and that he said that although that the hardship associated with the removal of subsidy on petroleum products is much, Nigerians need to be more patient with the government, even as it is.
So if the National Assembly is complaining of hardship, what should be over 150 million people? What should they be saying? So if indeed the state is admitting that there is serious and unprecedented hardship in the country, perhaps the National Assembly should be leading this struggle. If they've so admitted, and beyond just leading, if they've so admitted that the policies of Bola Ahmed Tinubu have imposed hardship in the entire country that has even affected their own earnings, I think what they should be doing is even to move a motion for his impeachment. So are not awarding billions to themselves. You know, they should be pushing at the floor of the House for the increment of workers' wage for at least 250,000 naira at the barest minimum to start with. if as members of assembly that are earning over 14 million naira are saying this money is not enough for them, then they should be brave enough, or reasonable, not brave, they should be reasonable enough to insist that workers workers deserve nothing less than 250,000 naira minimum wage, and also insist that the regime reverses this worrisome and nonsensical fuel subsidy removal policy. No reasonable country in the world abandons energy subsidy.
Now let me ask you, what's the position of Take It Back movement, your movement, with regards to the removal of fuel subsidy?
We have always been opposed to it. We have always been, as a matter of fact, we believe that the subsidies for the Nigerian people is a fundamental right, and as rooted in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, stated clearly in Chapter 2 about the fundamental objectives of our government, which includes the fact that government shall cater for the welfare and security of its people. So if subsidies does not imply welfare, I don't know what that means.
So what in your perspective, Take It Back movement's perspective, should be the long-term sustainability of a subsidy regime, and what are the proposed solutions to ensure that it's properly stabilized?
The subsidy regime, it is possible to continue to ensure. It's not just about the fact that Nigerians deserve to be subsidized. It's that Nigeria has enormous wealth to subsidize the poor in all aspects, not just in oil, right? Practically speaking, the Nigerian state has been subsidizing the lifestyle of the rich people in this country. You understand? The Nigerian state.
Okay. I crave your indulgence. Let's take this call. We have a caller on the line. Hello.
Yes, hello. Comrade Shots again.
All right. Could you speak louder? Comrade, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling from Abuja.
All right. Please go ahead.
Yes, I want to commend the comrade sitting in the studio there. He's a dogged fighter we've known over time. However, my contribution on this strike protest that has just started, I don't trust the NLC one bit. I don't trust the NLC. However, it's good that we have the spark. And this is a call to all civil societies and their comrades we have all over the country to wake up and own the process. Because the NLC can betray and chicken out at any point in time. And the revolution is just the way out. However, we cannot, throw away what we have now, the pockets of protests that started today. This we should own and take over the process. Again, it is also important that we know that the subsidy removal and the new regime is a sham. Tinubu happens to be the biggest spender as far as the just concluded election is concerned. He spent so much, and one of the ways I feel he wants to recoup monies he spent, because he bought the presidency from the primary election of the APC down to the main election, and how the process was rigged. Billions of naira, if not even dollars, they spent. And they will do all they can to recoup. It's business for the oppressors. So it is high time we stood up collectively to say enough is enough. And NLC, like I said, we can't trust them. They have also been found wanting in one way. However, civil societies that mean well, comrades all over the country that does mean well, should start with the NLC and own the process, with the mindset that the NLC will chicken out at any point in time. But even if they do, we will not back out, because the people united can never be brought down. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate your thoughts. You had the caller there, and he said that NLC cannot be trusted, and there's need for the civil societies to take over the process itself. I mean, own the process. So consider the fact that with the mindset that NLC could chicken out. I mean, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, that's a correct point of view. Again, going by the history of the bureaucracy of the trade union and their chance for beheading strikes. So it's I think it's important that the Nigerian people get involved in the mobilization processes against the unprecedented hardship in the country. And NSAS was a clear example that Nigerians are capable of self-organizing over and above the treacherous bureaucracy of the trade union movement.
We also have reports that there are certain Southwest Citizens Group that warned the NSA not to conduct any protest or striking or states in the Southwest, as a matter of fact, that it has been duly noted that Southwest states have put in place palliative for transport and salary increases. We'll get to that, but let me take this call first. We have another call on the line. Please go ahead. State your name and where you're calling from, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling from Enugu State.
State your name again, please.
Yeah?
Could you state your name and where you are calling from?
Yeah, my name is Ome Mabalanta from Enugu State, General Local Government Area.
All right, Rema, could you state your comment, please?
So I want to know about the protest. How was this going on?
Yeah, the protest ongoing. So could you tell us, are there protests ongoing in Enugu State at this point in time?
Yeah, they are protesting.
You're protesting. So tell us, what's the situation in Enugu?
Yeah?
What's the situation in Enugu with regards to the protest?
The situation of the protest, everywhere is shut down totally.
So there are no movements? Are people out in the streets?
There are no movements. Everybody are protesting.
So where are you exactly at this point in time?
Yeah?
Where are you at in Enugu at this point in time? Okay. All right. Do you have anything to say? What's your take on the fuel subsidy removal?
Actually, the fuel subsidy removal is affecting us. If government does not know what to do about it now, the country is collapsing because we don't, the first thing is killing us it's affecting us as we are students now, we can't afford money to transport ourselves. Everywhere is hard to us. Get money to transport now, everywhere is very, very fiscal hard now, so we are suffering.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for calling. You had that caller again, and that's protest is ongoing in Enugu as well, and he's complaining bitterly about this so-called for subsidy removal and how the impact is having on them. They can't even afford transport. How's this hardship on Nigerians? And considering the last president address that seems to appeal to the emotions of Nigerians, do you see a reprieve, or based on this, will you insist that this government go back to the subsidy regime, considering the fact that they had come out, I mean, during the address, that only few cabal were benefiting from this?
So who are those cabals? The president has a duty to, because here and there, when Buhari's regime, when it was to remove subsidy, quote and unquote, he also talked about cabals. Jonathan talked about cabals. Obasanjo talked about cabals. Yaradua talked about cabals. Everybody is talking about cabals. Who exactly are these cabals? Where are they? And why has every regime decided to shield these cabals from Nigerians? So if every of the regime are just touting and singing and speaking about some ghostly cabals here and there, and they are not mentioning them, maybe it stands to reason that they are the cabals. If they are not bold enough to understand. So because it is clear that few people cannot and should not be able to hold the Nigerian people to ransom. And if rather than going after these cabals that are supposedly holding our economy to ransom, stealing from fuel subsidy, you are not going after them, but instead you rather than making this cabal suffer, you are making the Nigerian people suffer for the crimes of a few cabal you are shielding. Well, come on. So
what you're saying is that what is happening now is there seems to be, from what they are saying,
there is a conspiracy by the elites, and the Nigerian state has always been deeply involved to exploit and plunder the wealth of this country and subject Nigerians to unprecedented poverty. And when you ask them to explain, they will say cabals.
Let's take another call. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning. My name is Chris Idoko. I'm calling from UK.
All right. Please go ahead with your comment, please.
All right. Yeah, discussing Nigeria, a lot comes to mind. Well, the protest is every nation allows democratic process through which the citizens express their dissatisfaction to the policies of the government. And an average Nigerian worker is finding it very difficult to survive when you suddenly change a policy without appropriate measures to cushion the effect. So basically, the cost of living has gone over 300%. However, the income remains the same. The salary remains the same. The cost of your transportation and feeding keeps going up. We've suddenly seen how the school fees of the federal universities used to be the only choice of the common man, the common Nigerian. Today we have federal universities have gone from 30,000-40,000 naira per annum per session, now gone to over 100,000-200,000. And these things, the trouble is, when you complain to no one. The school authority wouldn't listen to you. The parents have no choice. You can't go to National Assembly. Ordinarily, we should have a National Assembly that when these things happen and the citizens complain through their House of Representatives, through their senators, then they should serve as a watchdog to the government, who would actually hold the government accountable. Oh, this policy is being harsh on the people. So how can we stop this? Well, we have a National Assembly that the leaders were actually endorsed by the presidency. Basically, you couldn't have been the Senate President or the Speaker of House of Assembly without being endorsed by the President. So, and you can see that quite evidently in the screening. So, when people, the workers, complain, I believe there have been a lot of meetings before this protest, meetings before the possible strike. Let me give you an instance. In UK here, we've all been following the news of how inflation has actually resulted to a lot of protests, resulted to a lot of strikes. And what happens is, when you are having inflation of above 10%, and the salary remains the same, workers like NHS workers, the rail workers, and many other workers said no, they are finding it difficult to survive. When the effects of the Russian-Ukraine war started affecting the energy delivery to Europe, and citizens were finding it difficult to cope with the increase in energy bills. Salary couldn't have remained the same. People kept protesting, and they have to look into increments of salaries, so at least nothing less than 5% to cushion the effect, and other palliative measures. When you keep telling us about the palliative measures that, up to 1 million Nigerians will get this, but we could see the past administration of Muhammad Buhari, how the minister, the woman in charge of the palliative, will just go to North, share 5,000 to some people, and come and tell you that the billions of naira have gone. So, to summarize, if I go to issue of the subsidy removal, Why is it that every government for so long, whenever you make mention of getting our refineries to work, these guys never give it a time to discuss. Never give it a time. I remember one the minister for state for petroleum, when Buhari just entered power, he was moving all over the refineries, trying to give us hope that these refineries will work. Because basically, by the time you import, of course, you go to incur the cost of importation, the cost of refining outside the country. But because this guy had the vision to get the refineries to work, till today, we didn't know what happened to Ibekachuku. They just get it off because none of them wanted it to work. That is the basic truth. So I don't know how far we're going to continue like this as a country. And during the election, rather than Nigerians queuing up against someone who could actually get the system to work, all we have is people just out of ethnicity and 5,000 naira that will give them today's job. They will just join the heart to institute the criminality we have. And I don't know if you have questions, but there are so much to discuss about this country, and it's quite painful what Nigerians are going through.
Thank you so much for your insight, and we appreciate your insightful perspective. Thanks a lot. Yeah, you
all right, you're welcome.
You had the caller there, and he made some very insightful remarks, especially with regards to the refineries, and that has, despite the billions, trillions that has actually been spent towards revamping the refineries. I mean, part of the demands of labor is ensure that the refineries are revamped and they are back to work. What's your take on this?
Of course, you see, there is like, and I think Nigerians can see through them, through every regime that have passed through this country. There is a deliberate attempt to frustrate the refineries from working, for private interest, for self-interest, for international interest. And it's also very unfortunate that even at the time when the Nigerian state then resolves to, building a local refinery, rather than repairing the existing one to maximum capacity, or on the other hand, building a new refinery, publicly owned refineries. Right, they decided to hand over the money to a private businessman, Dangote. They helped him to build his own refinery with the same amount of money. I could have gotten around refineries to work at optimum capacity. So what what we are running in this country is crazy. It is what some of us have described as socialism for the rich, but capitalism for the poor people. And it's the reason we have always insisted that the Nigerian states have been subsidizing the rich people with trillions of naira.
Let's take another caller, please. Yes. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Adewale. I'm calling from Ogun State. Yeah, all right. So my contribution, I really want to appreciate people who are coming out to speak, especially at this point in time. And could you speak a little bit louder, please? Sorry?
Could you speak a little bit louder, please?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have said that, so I really want to appreciate people who are coming out to show that the situation that we currently have in the country is not palatable. But I have another perspective, a little bit different from what we are actually talking about.
Okay.
And my perspective is that the removal of fuel subsidy is not a problem to me. Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that are needed to push Nigeria forward. However, when a policy of such is to be deployed, a reasonable government is supposed to put things in place even before the removal. So at this point in time, what I think we should be talking about is the implementation of that subsidy removal is not right. Probably they should reverse it, put the necessary amenities in place so that when it's being removed later, the impact on an average Nigerian will not be as much as what it is. Because as it is today, I'm telling you, a lot of people are people are losing their businesses, and a lot of things are happening. So that is just, so my own perspective is that, yes, that subsidy is, even when it's not removed today, it will later be removed. It's very important that we remove it. But a reasonable government will put things in place so that the citizens, because what we're saying is that our leaders, they don't consider people when they're making decisions. You are making decisions to favor Nigerians. Why are you doing it in such a way that you are not concerned about them? It's not done like that. If you are concerned about me, if you put me first when taking decisions that will affect me. And that's my contribution this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your insight. You had the caller there. Of course, we're going to have divergent views and opinions, and that's why Sahara Reporters, Sahara TV ensure that all opinions are aired out. And he's of the opinion that, yeah, it's quite okay. The first subsidy need to be removed. But before doing that, they had to put proper palliatives in place to ensure that it cushions the effects that it's going to and the impact it's going to have. And he also talked about the impact it's having on most businesses. What's your reaction to this, sir?
You know, the views the caller, just espoused are the views that the leading presidential candidates pushed out through various media during the campaign, and it's not surprising that some of the candidates that were so pushed by the media, the candidates of the APC, the candidates of the PDP, the candidates of the Labour Party, the candidates of the NNPP, the Bretton Woods candidates, as I like to describe them, all promised to remove fuel subsidy. And it is the reason that Bola Tinubu, at his inaugural speech at the F13, to announce the removal of subsidy. So and this narrative about pushing some cushions into place before they remove fuel subsidy. I would have loved for the caller or anyone else who continues pushing this kind of narrative to indeed tell me where that has worked, where prices of energy has been subjected to the whims and caprices of invisible hands of demand and supply, and such that palliative. Are you saying that the if you deregulate oil as we are having it now, right, which means that today petrol can sell for 600 naira, when you wake up tomorrow it has become 1,000. So when it becomes 1,000, will government introduce another palliative? When it becomes 1,200 by the following month, would they introduce another? Like, I'm trying to understand how that would work really without killing small businesses and constituting hardship. The truth of the matter is that if our economy must run smoothly and fully, prices of energy must be kept low and affordable. The West that are forcing the so-called leading candidates to push this narrative, they understand that better, and that is why in their own countries they've kept price of energy low and very affordable. They are not doing what we are doing here in Nigeria.
Now let me ask, there's this sentiment among some sections of Nigeria that the Tinubu's administration is gradually morphing into a dictatorship by acting unilaterally and unwilling to listen to the views of Nigerians.
He didn't do that when he emerged. He didn't even give us an hint. He said it clearly when he was campaigning. He said, and I still remember, that even if you protest, if you do this, protest from now to tomorrow, I will remove subsidy. And I'm going to win this election. I'm just trying to mimic him incorrectly, do. You understand? He said that if Nigerians protest from now till tomorrow, he will remove fuel. So he already gave us an insight into the kind of government he would be running. And it's generally the characteristics of even the APC regime. The Buhari regime is 8 years practically ran a dictatorship. He ran a dictatorship. You understand? And so when Buhari was campaigning, and when Tinubu was campaigning, he said he was going to continue in the trajectory of the past administration, that he was going to be following the blueprints of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. So if he's running Nigeria as a dictatorship, he said it already, and the Nigerian people have a duty to resist.
Let's take this caller. Hello. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning. I'm calling from Kebbi State.
Right. What's your name again?
Yeah, my name is Sunday Uguche from Kebbi State. I'm calling from Kebbi State.
All right, Sonny, go ahead, please.
I think I've been listening to you guys about the subsidy, but I think I agreed with the young man who says that the price of energy has to go low in order for, because when it's affordable, I think it will derive a lot of the common people will enjoy buying it, transacting their business in the market, and to be enough flow of money in the market. Why? Because the poor people who goes to the market every minute, every hour, they needed to at least pay for transportation no less than 3 or 4 times a day. But with the higher price of transportation like this, they cannot afford it. Things have to go up. That is why people are complaining. It's not as if the palliative is no, it's not, palliative is not the problem. Palliative is not the problem. The issue now is that how Mr. President will bring down the price of the energy so that we can be able to afford it at how much is our minimum wage? These are the issues we need to do. Let you forget about the palliative, whatever. Bring all those things down. The price of energy, the price of school fees, the price of anything that common man is using every day. Let's have access to free education sometimes, even medical. Bring the prices of all those things down so that the common people can access. It will be very easy for them to appreciate government when they have access to those things. So that's my submission this morning, please.
Thank you, Sunday. We appreciate your insightful perspective. You had something there that it's not just about the palliatives. That the government need to ensure that the cost of commodities, food, transport all comes down to an affordable level. Now let me ask you, what in your view is the message that NLC is hoping to convey to this government at this time and to Nigerians through this process, this strike action?
Well, the message the trade unions are trying to communicate, especially the Nigerian people, are trying to communicate to the Nigerian government is clear, and it is that the Nigerian people needs the price of energy to be kept low. The Nigerian people deserve energy subsidies in order to ensure at the very least we can afford to go on with our lives. You know, we can avoid the tragedy of moving from 133 million people living in multidimensional poverty to perhaps 200 million, and that's perhaps the entire population of the country, or nearly the entire population of the country. So I think that is the message the Nigerian people have sent, and the Nigerian people are clearly telling the regime that they are not going to accept this hardship anymore. That the Nigerian people are saying enough of subsidies for the rich and hardship for the people. The Nigerian people, the poor people of this country, deserves to be subsidized. They deserve prices of energy to be kept low. They deserve free and quality education at all levels. The Nigerian people deserves to breathe, to have a fresh, to breathe.
That's a wrap of today's segment of the newspaper headlines and review. We've already had Soyolu Juwon. You know, it's quite interesting that your name is not synonymous with this is Soyolu Juwon, the national coordinator of the Take It Back movement in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your insightful analysis and your perspective. We hope we can call you at another time.
Absolutely.
So that's a wrap for today's segments of the newspaper headlines and analysis on Sahara TV. Don't forget to tune in next week for more news and headline analysis. Thank you for joining us, and do have a great day.
the very first ministerial list, after all the apprehension, who will be on the list, the same members of the ruling class are the ones there. Yosho Wike, El-Rufai, the tyrant of Kaduna State, all the expired old candles of ruling class are the ones on that list. Boyega Oyetola, the governor of Osun State, all kinds of funny elements who have misgoverned their respective states and who couldn't get into the Senate or the House of Reps were appointed ministers under Tinubu's government. This government is a key joy government, together an assemblage of serpents. And it should not be tolerated. I must give a quick warning. Niger Republic, our nearest neighbor, has just witnessed the Nigerian ruling class is toying with the rate at which racket of attacks, of deliberate attacks are being inflicted on local people, increments in fuel price, tariff, increments in school fees, reduction of tuition fees and all that. It's going to more or less not only bet a wind, but a whirlwind. And even the Nigerian civilian politicians may not have a shed to hide in when that toxic situation occurs.
I think these words, technocrats, have actually suffered in the hands of politicians. If you check the list and people are saying, oh, now finally we now have technocrats who will change the economy, and every other person, if you check the list very well, it's a way of compensating people who helped him to get to power. And so they will have to do his bidding. And what are the ideologies that guide Tinubu himself? The ideology is to what? Reduce the purchasing power of the people, slow down the economy,